Welcome. Today we're going to discuss project, base point, and survey point. You'll be surprised at how much you don't know or what you need to know when it comes to the basics about project, base point, and geolocation and survey point. What I mean by that is every time that a project needs to be coordinated, this is one of the common mistakes that most new users have when not executing this correctly. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is go over just what you need to do about how to correct it, how to make sure that multiple models land in the same spot, because let's face it, if you can't line these models up, how are you going to actually do any modeling? How are you going to coordinate with other models and other engineers and designers? So to get started, as you can see here, I've got the grids all set up, and it's super important. I'll tell you why. And then also I'm going to open up an elevation. All right, because when you're going to do these things, when we're talking about with the grids, you want to do two things, guys. You want to make sure that everything is in alignment. Move this up right quick on the elevations and the plans. So right now you do not see a survey point. What you need to do in this case is type VG. All right, stands for visibility graphics, and I want you to go down to site. And when you go down to site, you're not going to be able to find it until you go into where it says the site, and then you're going to see a survey point, and then you're going to see a project base point. And when that pulls up, you're now going to see that land right here, okay? And so what we are going to do to move it, I'm going to show you a tactic, because you just can't just move it right away. You've got to make sure that you unclip it first, because if you move it right away, I'm going to show you what happens. So let's just say I want to go ahead and move this to where I want to move it to. And anytime you're going to move something, guys, you're always going to move, especially if you don't have any survey information, A1. So right now I'm going to move to A1, and I want you to see what happens. Okay? When I click on this information right here, I'm going to go ahead and show you. You see how it says Northern Eastern, project base point. All right, this is perfect. Now, if I go ahead and I click into the survey, just go here, watch this. You'll see this information. It says default survey point, okay? So right now, this is where I want it to be, but it says 00, correct? So now, if I was to go back and move it, let's just say I move it back here. I want to see what it's going to do. See what it just did? Now it's tracking the points, all right? And that's what we wanted to do when we move it to a certain location. So now, when I just pinned it, so I'm going to go ahead and undo this, because what I want to do is I want the coordinate points to be in this location, and I want it to be tracked. So watch this. So I'm going to pull back, Control Z, go back further. Here we go. This time I am going to filter, and I am going to say, hey, give me my survey point. And this should change from a northern eastern perspective when I move up to A1. All right. So now that's what I want to right there, because I'm saying this is going to be my new point, and it's moving that information from here to here. Now I can say this is what my new point is going to be. This goes, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Same information, all right? And the only thing that we got to make sure is from an elevation perspective, we want to make sure that that elevation is always going to be based off of the slab edge of 00, all right? Sometimes architects put this at 100 feet. So depending on your project, what we're going to do right now is we are going to go to that elevation I talked about, and we're going to turn on VG again, all right? I'm going to go down the site, and then I'm going to go to survey point and project base point. The same step is going to be here. And now you just want to make sure that it's right. Now, in this case, it's at level 1. So we don't have to do anything that's saying that my 00 is here. But like I said before, if we were to move it, sometimes architects like to have it at whatever point they're going to do. What you would still have to do, okay, to move it to a certain point, you would go ahead here and say, hey, I want to go move this to a certain height. Then you clip it, right? And let's just say I want to go ahead and type in 100 feet. I might be a little bit too high. I'll just say 20 feet just for the sake of reference. Yeah, it'll give me elevation. And then if I do here and I hit this, now this is going to be the new elevation that comes in. Okay, and I move the same thing here. But we don't want it to. We want best practices to be right here with level 100 for a slab. So this is highly important when we start talking about project base points and survey points. This is phase 0. This is the foundation of how to create my first project. But I want to make sure you guys understand the basics and how we do it, how we move, and what we should be doing. So what we're going to do right now is show you how to create your first project from scratch and let you know all the steps that it takes to really get your stuff down. Take 2. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to discuss the steps to starting your first project. The very first thing that you want to do is have Revit open, and then you want to go ahead and click new. Now what you're going to see here is you're going to see an Imperial multidiscipline template. What I want you to do is go ahead and hit the browse button, and in the browse button, when you get to that, the reason I'm going to take you through this process is I want you to go where it says default. The reason why I want you to go to default is because this is going to be the basic template that we're going to use in this regard to start up our stuff. Or actually, you know what? No, never mind. I'm going to have you go ahead and use residential. Go ahead and click on residential and hit open. And then this is what it should look like right here. It's telling you the template. Basically gives us a really good starting point to start our project. Then we're going to click OK. And then once you get this started, you'll see some basic information right here. All right, you'll see different levels. You'll go ahead and see how all this is created. And what we're going to do first and foremost is show you the different elevations. I want you to click on where it says West Elevation. And what you're going to see right here is you're going to see all of these different levels. These levels all create views. And you probably would say, well, how does that work? Well, because, watch this. Let's just say I get rid of the view. Select that and I hit delete. And now you see what it's doing? It's telling me that I got all these different things associated. So now if I hit delete and I hit OK, what happened? Where's the roof? The roof is gone. Okay, and don't worry about it. We're going to bring it right back anyway. Same thing here. If I want to go to the second floor, if I go ahead and hit, look at all these things that are associated with it. Okay, I hit OK. All those things go away. So what we're showing you is the power of parametric engine. And you may want to say, okay, well, how can I go ahead and create one? And how do these views get created to create floor plans? It's a great question. So what I'm going to show you right now is that if we go into architectural, and you see over here, go all the way to the right. All right, we're going to focus especially on these 2 things, levels and grids. Watch this. If I go ahead and click level, right, it's going to now be able to retract everything, right? And I'm in elevation. So look. So now, if I just say, okay, we're going to do this at 10 feet. Well, we're going to 9 feet. All right. Now, it's giving me my head information. It's giving me my information over here, as you can see. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and go 9 feet. And as you saw, I'll start from the left. I'm going to go to right. And then you're going to see right here. Now it's going to give me an arbitrary number, but what are you going to see? Now look what it created. Level 8. All right. Still playing the same thing. But now we're going to go ahead and change this. And all of these too, just so you know. So that way we can have our hierarchy when we create these files, okay? So in that case, watch this. We're going to change these foundation, right? And we're going to say foundation. We're going to change this to say, put a number in front of it. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put 00. Underscore, yes. All right, and we're doing that until we can go ahead and create a hierarchy with drawings and sheets. Same thing here. We're going to go ahead and we are going to go and say this is going to be same. Now watch this. Now we're going to go ahead and say this is going to be 02 underscore, right? Now watch, we're going to say yes. Now I want you to see what this is going to do. We are creating hierarchy, as you can see right now. Look what it's already doing in the floor plans. It is now aligning the things that we were actually looking for. This is super important that it'll automatically recognize this. And we can get rid of the underscore. I don't think we really need that. But it's just perfect for you guys to just give space. All right. And the reason that we do this, whether you use the underscore or not, is that we want to make sure this lines up. Now, what I want you to do next is I want you to go to the second floor. And now what I want you to do is, as you can see, is I want you to now see all this information right here. Give me your default. Give me this. Now look, you see how we have this little checkbox that says building story versus structural, which is perfectly fine. Now we're going to go ahead and click this again. I want you to right click it. Look what it does. It says go to floor plan. All right. Now it's taking us to a floor plan perspective. Okay. Now the other thing that we need to do always when we're doing this is we are going to be setting up a grids for these different elevations. And you may say, well, where do the elevations come from? if we want to go ahead and draw elevations, you go all the way over here to view, and you'll see right here, what does it say? Elevations. If I click on this, look what it says. You got interior elevations, building elevations. Okay. And typically when we're starting a project, we're going to do building elevations. And we're going to do this before we start the project, not after. That's why you haven't seen it started to model anything just yet. So that's what these are. As you can see right here, these are all elevations. That is what you see right here. And so if we were going to go ahead and create an elevation, if I right click this, go here. All right. I can go to this elevation. Let's go to elevation view. And that's basically going to be a view of each corner of the building. But right now, what we're going to do in this particular case is we're going to go back to architecture, and then we're going to do grids. Okay. We got to line everything up before we draw it. So the very first thing I'm going to do, don't worry about being precise because we'll get that going later. So we're just going to go from here and we're going to click. All right. All right. And then when you want to get out of something, you want to go ahead and hit escape once. All right. So it keeps you in a command. All right. Same thing. Escape once keeps you in a command. All right. When you want to get out of it twice, and then you're out of it. The next thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and create grids the opposite direction. All right. So, want to go over, do this again. Going to do left to right, right to left. All right, same thing. And we're going to kind of show you how this is going to work and how you're going to go ahead and line this up. We're teaching you the basics of how you're going to create your projects, because if you don't do this, then this is what's going to be pivotal for you to draw everything that you're doing. All right, so now if you can see right here, you're going to see numbers go across the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I'm going to do right now to make sure we're evenly out, I want you to go to where it's the Annotate tab, and then I want you to go ahead and hit Align. I want you to click on this, and I want you to click on that, click on this one, click on this one, and click on this one, and I want you to move up into the space, and then click again, and hit Escape twice. Once you do that, I want you to click on the dimension, and I want you to hit the equal sign. What that does is it evenly spaces all of it, and I want you to hit it again. All right, so now you've got equally spaced dimensions. Same thing here. Once you hit the Align tool in dimensions, or DI, yep, click on these. Once you click over here, now once you click on the dimension, do the same thing again. And as you can see right here, now you've got this. Now, to be fair, I want you to go ahead and I want you to take this. I want you to type in A. All right, you're always going to start all your buildings the same way, no matter what. All right. And this is what you can see, and this is the proper way to do it. You're going to have your numbers at the top, and you're going to have your letters to the left. All right, so this is how you're going to align your buildings, grids and levels and elevations, because this is going to be the start of your project. Super, super important that this is always the base and foundation. And also, when you start your project, go to Manage. When you first start doing this information for your building, you'll see right here when you go to Manage tab, it'll say Project Information. All right. Sorry, on the project parameters, go to project information. And what this information is supposed to do for you is it's supposed to make sure that everything that you're looking for is going to be settled for the work that you're doing. All right. So we'll go over it just a little. Here we go. Sorry. Project information. This is the name project. This is what you want to have started when you first start doing this, just so that way you can understand, like, okay, all right, here's what my expectations are. These are all pro level things that you want to go over and make sure, because this stuff is going to show up in your title block. So you want to make sure that this information is filled out to the best of your abilities. All right. So, project issue dates, project status. Just want to make sure that these information, if that you can address, project name, whatever you want to call it, organization, this information, when you fill out your title block, this automatically will come in here with information. All right. So this is perfect for the first overview of how to get your very first project started. Phase 2, we're going to go over the envelope. We're going to create a wall structure, and then that wall structure is going to show you the different makeups of the wall. We're going to do an exterior and we're going to do interior wall. So the first thing we want to do is go over to where it says wall. We're going to go to architectural wall, WA, and then don't worry about the lines. We'll get that all connected. And then the next thing we want to do is just make sure from our perspective that we're going to do core center line, and we are going to now make sure that if you see right here, we're going to look at the different floors. See how it's saying base constraint? We want to change that to say foundation. Okay. And then we're going to change this where it's a constraint. We're going to say this is going to be, I would say right now, it'll say second floor. All right. Foundation and second floor. Okay. And then what we're going to do, we're going to just take this generic type and we're just going to click. All right. Also, make sure that we're on the floor we need to be. So we're going to actually be on the foundation floor. As you can see here, the grids are still here. Go back to wall. All right. Go to basic wall right here. And then we're going to clear here. All right. And now what is it saying? Let me make sure that this is connected. All right. I'm going to do this since we're back on this floor here. See, it's stopping us here. So I'm going to just go ahead and put it connected 20 feet. And then we're going to go ahead and then we're going to set it here. And don't worry. It'll be there. All right. Make sure it's there. Okay. All right. And let's see here. We're going to go to second floor. There you go. And as you can see, base constraint, Druid, everything's here. We are now on this little second floor. Now that we're here, got this wall drawn, I want you to go ahead and click on here. And then I want you to hit where it says edit type. Right over to the right. All right. And then we're going to hit edit type. And then now we're going to go in and we're going to make this an exterior. So right now, the first thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. I'm going to call this brick CMU. And always define your walls by interior, exterior, okay? All right, cool, 6 inch. All right, now once you have that, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna go over here where it says structure. And as you can see right here in your wall structuring aspect, we are going to build a wall. So now you see your interior side, see your exterior side. So that should mean that everything's gonna be to the left, it's gonna be your exterior, everything's gonna be to the right, it's gonna be your interior. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create layers. So what I want you to do right here is hit insert. All right. Now you want to insert one more time. And so the first thing is that you have your structures. That's what you see here. If I click on this, you have your structure, substrate, thermal air layer, finish 1 and finish 2. And finish 1 and finish 2 are just different finishes for the different layers in your structure. And you also have your membrane layer. In this case, we're only going to create 3 different layerings for this structure, but I'll show you the breakdown on how this makes up the wall. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do right here is we're going to go ahead and make sure that this stays the structure. Or I'm sorry, this is going to be on the outside. We're going to call this as finish 2. Then what we're going to do right here is we are going to say that this is going to be a membrane layer and this is going to be, I would say, I'll call this, and this is going to be the structure. All right, so in the finish, I want you to go ahead and let's click on here. These little dots right here, I want you to click on that. And this is probably going to be a little bit more than 6 inches too. So now I'm going to go ahead and type in brick. As you see here, I'm going to double click on that. As you can see right here, and then we're going to give this a thickness. So we're going to go ahead and say this is going to be, we're going to change the thickness after we get done with this. So I'm going to say this is going to be 2 inches. All right. And then this, we're going to go ahead and say this is going to be 1 inch. And we're going to change the substrate. Make sure that that's in here. All right. Actually, I'll just keep that one right now. If I need anything else, say clad or anything else, I can just kind of keep as a default. But I'll come back to that. I mean, from a layer perspective, let me see, thermal, see, I will do just right now. And then structure, I want to click on here and I want to go ahead and double click. And I want to go ahead and say structure, or I can just say stud, metal stud layer that you can see here. And then also to this is how the breakdown of the wall is. You see right here, if you don't make sure that this says a structure, then it doesn't know how to break down the wall. So now we got the structure, okay? If you want to see the breakdown of this, and we're going to change from 6 inch to 9 inch. As you can see right here, this is how we are aligned. See, I can hover over that. If I go ahead up or down, watch this. See that? See the brick the same way. So you can see that these are the makeups of this actual thing. So now we got the stud layer internally. And if I want to do an interior face, right? Do one more just from interior face, right? Call it another drywall. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert. All right. I'm gonna go, and that's the difference that we're gonna typically a finishes like finish 2 is gonna be for your exterior right before you get to your brick like sheathing. Then interior you're gonna do finish 4, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and put that right here. All right. Make sure that this is gonna say the metal stud layer. All right. And then right here, I'm going to change this. Then I can say, let's say drywall. Just says gypsum board. All right. So that's now what I've got going on. So I've got different things here to go ahead and place here. And I can actually probably just do that here too as well. So gypsum. But I want to show you just a different aspect of it. Also, guys, just when you want to know as far as information, look at all the information that this thing keeps for all this stuff from a wall breakdown perspective. Here's the graphics. Here's where if you wanted to go ahead and create cut patterns, this is where you would create it. Okay, for if it's slicing, this is what this would do. The different materials, cross hatch patterns, any of these things you can break down based off of the different materials. That's what you would go here. You have the drafting portion and you have the model portion. Same thing with the brick. So like if I go back, let's just say, hey, I want to do my appearance for my brick. It should already be there. But if I come back over here to the brick, all right, look at this. Look what it looks like. It'll show you the brick pattern. You can do the texture alignment to make sure that that's correct. As you can see from a rendering perspective, pattern, here's the cut pattern. This is what this is going to look like. And then also the appearance. As you can see from a render perspective, it's going to show you the map. What is Revit actually using? So this is important. They can say, hey, this is going to be glossy, unfinished, because it's brick. If it's tint, here's the different information that's going to go along with your schedule. So Revit is constantly putting so much information into these walls, into these schedules. So when you create your schedule, this is the information that it's pulling from. All right. So this is just the appearance. If I want to change the appearance to something else, to a scene, to a cube, all right, cylinder, canvas, same thing with environment. I can go ahead and do that as well, for depending on how you want to see draft quality, production quality. All right. Then go to the physical aspect of it. As you can see right here, it'll start to now say, hey, here's the density of the brick. Here's the key basis. This is all important because you're not just modeling, but you're also designing. So it's super important. Same thing with a thermoset, basic information. Look at all the information that's packed into Revit, just based upon the information based off of the principles. So all this information is all packed into these different materials and everything else. So it's important that you understand how all this stuff goes. So now that we've built the wall, now it's tallied up everything. It's saying, hey, here's all the different parts of this wall. We're going to do this. Typically, when you're doing anything, make sure this is changed. Let's see, got the structure here. That's good. All right, let's make sure this is fine. So this, if anything's going to be at this right here, we're going to say this is going to be 5/8. All right. So that's how that's going to be for any gypsum. We're going to do the same thing here. All right. And as you can see here, it's giving you the total thickness. So you want to make sure that this thickness represents here as well too. So it's 9.25. See how it automatically. So now look, it's giving me the information that I need. We just did that. And also too, guys, if I wanted to change this, look, it even gives me a section of how this is going to look from a layering perspective as well. It's super important to understand how this is doing. Remember we talked about what's going to be interior, what's going to be exterior. All right, so the breakdown of the walls, if we were doing anything like marker boards or in footings for walls, we would utilize sweeps and regions, but right now we just want to keep it basic for the intermediate students. So now I hit OK. Now I gotta just make sure I rename this to say 9.25 to represent that information. All right, so now there you go. So we just built up the wall. Look at the analytical properties. Okay, and as we talked about here, if we wanted to go ahead and make sure from a basic perspective, we just built out a wall. Look, then also, too, you see how we have the different functions. So the functions now explain about the different wall types. So each wall you have to make sure is retrofitted to what you want it to be. And this is telling Revit how it's going to operate with inside of Revit. Super hugely important when you're doing these walls. Look, tells you this assembly description. So if I change this and say, hey, this was a soffit, I could, make sure. But in this case, this is all going to be exterior. All right. All this information is super important if I wanted to put a tag in this wall, okay? Well, we usually, from here, we put like a tag to make sure right here, call it a type mark. So in this case, I can say, hey, this is, EX1. All right, so now we've got that, and then I can, hey, and say, hey, you know what? This costs $1, square footage wise, I can say, cost wise, $1.59 for material. If we're going to do a material takeoff, if I want to go ahead and start putting manufacturing information, I want to go detail information. I could put a lot. If I want to go ahead and put URL information to a website for the material, I can also associate that here. So it's a lot of different things that we can do. So we just built that wall. All right. Now, typically when I do a wall, you see here, we want to see a detail. You say, hey, man, I just drew this wall. Why is it not looking the way I want it to look? Well, first and foremost, there's a detail component to this as well. So if I take it off a course and just say I go to find, oh, now look at that. All right. Now, the other aspect of it is that this is facing the wrong direction. So now the first thing I want to do is just go ahead and do this. So there you go. Now, overall, if I want to go ahead and draw this up, I'm going to go ahead and create it now right here, right? So now I just go ahead and hit cancel. I'm going to go back to wall. I'm going to show you how I draw my walls a lot of times. Click on that, it's going to bring up the same one. And then look, I should have a recent down here. I'm going to click on that. And then now, look, I got a square box. So here are all the different tools of how I want to draw the wall. I can do a circular, I can do a square, I can do arcs, I can do all sorts of times. And if I had a CAD or anything else, I could follow a grid pattern and pick lines. But in this case, like I said, my base constraint, I'm going to go ahead and just go to foundation, square here, and then I'll look. Now I can just click on out, drag to the right. All right, so now I'm just go ahead, right? And now when I'm in here, now I got that information from a cube perspective. So now I got it here. All right. So give me temporary different directions, dimensions, as you can see right here. So if I want to change this to 40, I can click on here. Now look at that. Same thing here. If I click on this, I can do the same thing if I needed to. But in this case, now you've just successfully created an exterior wall, right? That's what we wanted to kind of go through from a wall perspective. And then now if I go ahead and click a 3D view house up here, now look at that. All right, you see that information. If I change the detail level to fine, all right, I'm gonna change this to give me a little shaded color. Now you actually see the information that we've been drawing. All right, super hugely important to understand how this information gets done from a constraint perspective from an exterior. And then at the same time, if I was going ahead and say, well, you know what? What if I wanted to go ahead and put a roof on something like this? Well, if I wanted to go put a roof on something like this, then I would go to different ways we can do one. I can do it and say, hey, let me do a roof by footprint. And then I can go ahead and say, okay, cool. Well, now if I clicked on that, all right, same thing here. I can build the roof the same way. I can go ahead and to edit type. And then now look, I can go ahead and say this, a different roof. So I can go in here and now let's say duplicate. All right, we're just going to say slope roof. Let's say, all right, shingle. It's so important for you guys to follow these steps. All right, shingle roof. And then I'm going to just say this takes 12 inches and then hit OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and click into the structure, just like we did with the walls, okay? So right now we just got one single structure. We need to go ahead and put another finish layer like we talked about before. So let me go insert, all right? So now in this one, I'm going to go ahead, let's change this to finish. 5, all right? And then I want to go to shingle, all right? So here we go. There we got asphalt shingle, wood shake. And in this case, I'll go ahead. And if we want to look at different material, you may ask us, okay, well, where does that material lie? Well, then look, we got a material library down here. Okay. So now if I need to get any other materials outside of this, I just did a search. All right. Roofing. All right. I can go in here and I can find different material from different AC materials. And then I can also do down here to look at different materials and add them. It's called our AC collection. And we can bring in different materials. And we got a lot of them. But if I go out of here, just do you see that? Those are different materials that I can also add that may not already be uploaded, okay? Look, ceilings, ceramics, okay? All the different materials that you're going to use for your walls, that you're going to use for your ceiling, water, brick, you name it, okay? Flooring, tiles, stone. We're going to go for that in interiors as well to show you guys how to do that. But this is just so important. But I'm going to go back to here and say shingle, and I'm going to go ahead and say wood. All right, so now I got that. Now let's make sure I got this called the stud layer like we did last time. Hit that in here. Let's see. It says replay. Yeah, it was already there. So, all right, just kind of showing you how to do that. So that is there, right? So we got all that squared away. Now we've got the finish. Make sure that's good. And then look, you don't see anything because we still got to go ahead and give, all right, give something. Now look, you see how we got that? There's our, we can't say we didn't do anything if we didn't put that there. I'm gonna just do 1 inch. All right, so now we got that squared away. Now you learned how we can actually do a roof material, just created that. And as we put that information in, this changes too, okay? So now I'm gonna hit okay again. So now we just created our own roof. And then the same thing here. Now this part, I'm just gonna, so it says, look, hey, I'm stuck here. I can go ahead and click on this. You see how that is? Right there, right? Now I'm gonna go ahead and click that on the outside. Same thing, the same thing, and the same thing. As you can see right here, these are all slopes too. So if I wanted to give a different slope, a different avenue, I can give a different slope. So in this case, I'm gonna go ahead and it tells me, okay, I got overhang, and it says extend to wall core. I'm gonna check that. It says, okay, cool. All right, would you like to highlight the roofs? Attach. Now I'm gonna go back to my 3D view. All right, now I gotta go back for a minute because I messed up one thing. All right, what did I do? I hit back. All right. The only thing I need to do now is I didn't make sure my base level is at the top. So in this case, I need to make sure it's at the top. So I'm just going to hit align, and then there we go. And what I did, let me go back, since I put in the wrong thing. Right now it's saying it's at the top. And then look at this constraint right here. It's saying, okay, cool, the top offset is 20 feet. Right now it's saying, hey, I'm second here, but it's not giving me the height offs. But if I even just type in here, that was my offset, okay? So what did we just do? And then now that if I do that, I get this pull down arrow, and look, if I wanted to, now I can just pull that down just a little bit. All right, now I got an overhang, I got a roof, but then I got the material too. So now, just showing conceptually of how we build out the exterior, how we build out the roof for this tutorial. It's super important for you guys to understand just the basics of how this works for creating your first project. Now, I need to teach you the basics before we go into actually creating a house, but this is the ones just to make sure that you know how all these things work.
Now, if you're still watching this video and you haven't subscribed, oh, we got a problem. In order for me to keep dropping these jewels and these gems for this transformation, I need you to like, subscribe, and share. All right, let's get back to the video.
We're going to talk about phase 3. Phase 3 is going to be structural floor and a finished floor. Super important. A part of this series is being systematic to let you guys know how we build different things. So in this case, I just deleted the roof. And now what I want you guys to do is go back to where it says second floor. And what I want you guys to do is go over to where it says floor. And I want you to go ahead and hit structural. Now, why are we doing the structural before anything else? Because with a structural foundation, that's going to actually be the floor slab itself, right? And then on top of it, then you do the finish inside of the building. All right. So in this case, I already got a generic floor right here. And then right now, I'm going to just do a concrete slab of 4 inches for this particular stuff. And what I'm going to do once that's done is now I'm going to go ahead and now I have the floor solidified. You'll see right now I got the boundaries and directions, slope arrows. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and just touch on this. All right. Click each wall. And then when I click on the wall, what I want you to do now is I'm going to click on one side and I'm going to hit this little flip. And all our structures are always going to be on the outside. All right. And so now I got that situated. Now I just hit OK. Now what? I want to go ahead and see it. Now I can go to 3D. But now if I want my, go ahead and get my walls attached to this, I can just say cool. And I can do two things. I can either select them all and do this, or I can go ahead and then just say, hey, all right. And I can just go 0 here. Here's my offset. Here are the walls connected to it. All right, so that's my structural slab. So now we're going to go ahead and go back to the second floor. And then once I go from the second floor, I'm going to go to flooring again. Now I'm going to do the architectural floor. All right. It's important that we do this for a flooring aspect of it. We'll go through the materials. So in this case, now I'm going to go ahead for this particular category and I am going to do generic. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit edit type. And so now we are going to build one. So now before we get started, let's duplicate. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and say 1 inch cherry wood. Okay. And now in this case, this is a strictly finished. As you can see right now, architectural stands for interior for the function. You see how we got that already set up? And it's giving you assembly instructions to say floor construction. So in this case here, we're going to go ahead and hit edit. And in this structure right here, we're going to go ahead and just say finish 1, like we talked about. Finish 1 is going to be for interior. And then we're going to uncheck this box that says structural materials so it doesn't act like it's a structure. All right, so this is going to now, we'll make sure that this is set to 1 inch. So all you got to do is just type in 01. Then we're going to go ahead and get a material. Then we're going to click on that. Then I'm just going to go ahead and search and say cherry. All right, see how we got the different ones, oak wood, red, cherry. So now I'm going to just do that. As you can see right here, 1 inch. Typically, this is just a finish, so I don't need to be 1 inch. Half inch or even a quarter if I need to, but I'll just do half. And as you can see right here, once you change the properties, resistance to thermal mass changes. And so now that's done. And now I've got this portion that we just created. Now I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do inside. And as you can see, it's starting to select the inside of here. All right. And now watch this. So now that that's all said and gone, it's telling me that it's room bounding. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and say cool, boom. So what did I just create? So now that I just created you see, look, I've got my slab. All right, but one thing you may see is reflective. Why? Because I didn't account for this. Make sure when you put that on, the slab saying 1 inch. All right, so now you gotta go ahead and give it positive what? Now you see it right above it. If I didn't, then it's still in the slab, right? All right, cool. So it's just important for you guys to understand that, because if I go back to the floor plan and I was to go ahead and go to view, show you kind of, let's see here. Let me go back, excuse me. All right, and I don't see, just want to pull this up right quick. Look at my section. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I want you guys to kind of see what this looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and just create these so you can see it, and you guys can say, okay, cool. So in this case, in this box, here we go. So yeah, we were talking about, we got the different floors and we got the different finishes, but this is how you're going to create your structural slab, and then you're going to create your different finishes on top of the structural slab. Because like I said before, we showed you how to use the tools, now we're showing you how to apply the tools. That's what's so important. And this was phase 3, talking about structural floors, structural slabs, and then finished floors on top of the structural slab. So there you go. Great for beginning to understand how much this is important to your workflow. We're going to talk about phase 4, and phase 4 is going to be talking about doors and windows and curtain walls. All right. And in this case, what we're going to first go over is doors. And so I want you to go in from the past one that we just did, just go over to where it says doors. All right. And then you'll see an actual portion over here where the doors are. Here are the doors where they're located. All right, double glass doors, single flush doors, single raised panel doors, single sliding doors. So a couple things we're gonna go over. One, just where all the families located anyway. All right, so these are all called system components, but if you need to look for where the families are for the doors and that which makes up Revit, there's 2 ways to locate them. One, you go down here to see what's in your project, down here where it says for families, and this is what lets you know what's inside your project. That's why it's so important for you to have a template that has a lot of robust stuff, because once you start to model and you realize you don't have the content that you need, you're going to need to know where to find it. And then Revit is notorious for not having enough families for you to model the things you're looking to do, even from a generic standpoint. But what you can do, I'll supply a free Revit template. I'll send you guys a link to my school community that you guys can go ahead, click the link from that. I'll have that supplied in the description, and then that way I can go ahead and get you over a free template that will definitely start you in the right direction. So that way when you start using templates and everything else like that, it has a lot of the content that you need. All right, I digress. So in this case, this is what lets you know all the different components of what's loaded into your project. Well, you may ask, okay, well, what if I don't have, so you go down to doors. What if I don't have the particular doors that I'm looking for? All right. So then if you don't have the doors that you're particularly looking for, there's a couple ways you can find out. Also, if you're looking at all components, see where here in architecture it says components. If I go here, it says place components. That is all components in the entire project of everything. So if you need to know where all your components live, let me hit escape twice. They live in this one where it says components, okay? But also, when they're also under categories like windows and doors and walls. So in this case, let's just say I'm looking for a door. If I was to hit insert, all right? And then this is where I can load families. And this is right here. I can go from load Autodesk family. I click over here. And then now it's going to say, okay, what are you actually looking for? Well, if I can go ahead and hit door. All right. I said doors. Come on. Stop playing with me. All right. So give me cabinets. But here's all the different doors, as you can see right here. If I need to load any different doors in here, any rotating doors, I can just click on check marks. All right, different ones. And then that, once I do that, now from the what's in Revit library already, I can go ahead and hit load. All right, you'll see me do that. And then when it comes in, now it's going to say, well, okay, well, you got a double sliding door. Well, what are all these different, they call them types. These types are different ones, so you don't load everything in. You load in what you want to load in. So for me, I can hit control. Now I can hit 72 inches. Instead of selecting everything, I can only select this, the ones that I want, and hit control. So now I'm gonna hit OK. All right, same thing for the other doors. It's gonna say click on that and just go to different ones that you want for specific sizes. Okay, and same. All right, and it's really neat because if I only want a certain amount of doors, and instead of having everything all loaded in, then that's what I'm going to do. So now when I bring the doors, look, all that information just applied over here. Okay. So now once that's done, now what I want to do is I want to go back over here. So I'm going to hit doors. All right, and as you can see right now, I can look for the doors that I want. Okay, in this case, I'm going to say double exterior door, 2 light. Now, these are called wall-based families. So look, right now you see that if I click the door, nothing's showing up. Now, if you see here too, from a door perspective, look at all the information that it has from a properties perspective, okay? Frame material, finish material, rough width, rough height, all right, jam, head height. But once you click where it says edit type, now look at all this information from an exterior standpoint. It's telling you that the function is exterior. Now it's by host, which means that it will only show up if you are touching a wall. If you're not touching a wall, it will not show up. Okay, we call this a hosted family. And now that we got this hosted family, we can see all the different information that we can pull from a schedule, all this information that can tell you that can pull from right here, strike height, doors, all this information, good detail. Okay, but then at the same time too, I could get a fire rating. Now I'm gonna go ahead and this door right here, just create a door tag. So we got information just so you guys can kind of see how it works. And then the types that we brought in, those are the different 3 types that we brought in. So it's important to understand of why we showed it that way. So now when I go ahead and hit OK, now if I go over to the door, look at that. All right, you see how it's giving me a temporary. I can do this in 3D, but I would always probably recommend you doing it in the 2D selection. So that way it's hosted by the floor itself. So go ahead back. And then now look, when in 2D, you see how if I hover over different walls and I got, we call this temporary dimensions. See, the closer I do it here, it gives me the information here close. And if I hit the space bar, there you go. I can also change the direction. If I come up to the other side of the wall, same thing here. All right. So it's important to understand like how this works. Ooh. And now all of a sudden I haven't even done anything. I'm just didn't click nothing. I'm just saying here, I'm gonna go ahead and click right here with this 21 and 19. All right, now I clicked on that. All right, and then it also gives me these push-pull arrows too if I need to. All right, see, look, if I need to, I can hover over like that. Same thing here, same thing here. All right, I can come over to this wall here, you know, same thing, come over to this wall here. All right, now you got doors. All right, and so like now you see all the information that we wanted to put in with that being hosted. Okay, so if I want to annotate, then I want to tag by category. Now look. Okay, look at that. Now I can put information for all this information that I want to go ahead. Then I can do the same thing with walls, okay? Because all this information is by tag and it's just taking information out of it. Now it's giving me a door tag number. Now if I want to go ahead and put a different number in here or anything else, that number, so right here it says, look, it's using this mark value. So if I change this to say something else, all right? So that's kind of how it works. You know, doing this and making sure that the information is there. It's super important for you guys to see it. And if I didn't want this tag, just be here. I want to get rid of this leader line. I can just click on that. All right. And, you know, or vice versa. If I wanted to tag itself again and I just take the leader out, now it will just be in the door swing itself. All right. So that is perfect from a door perspective. Now we're also going to do for the same thing for a window perspective. So if I go ahead and close this and I'm going to go down over here to where it says Windows. All right, now it tells me what's in here in these projects. And if I click another plus button, it'll tell me what's already here. All right, so now if I just go to Windows, it'll tell my trims, and you see all the different types that's already associated with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and click back over here, which if you notice, I can't click anything yet. Why? Because it still has to be hosted. So now I'm just go ahead, and as you can see here, when I zoom in, okay, I want to go ahead and see right here, look, click on that, and I got a couple over here. Click on that. I can just go over here, click on that, and I hit escape twice. Now, if I go to my 3D view, now look. Now, what did you see? Now you're seeing walls, you're seeing windows, you're seeing everything associated, bringing this in was pretty easy. And if I click on here, now you'll see temporary dimensions here in the 3D. If I want this to go higher, now I can say, hey, you know what? Let's do. See that? All right, so there's plenty of things that you can do as far as the height. Same thing here. You see these temporary dimensions now just here. I can do this in 3D, which I think is cool. All right, do the same thing here. All right, so that is just showing you how to be able to put these things in perspective in a model, going over the basics. Fifth phase. And you may be asking, what is the fifth phase? Well, the fifth phase is documentation. Right now, it doesn't matter how cool we make this model and put all these elements into it. If we can't document it, then it doesn't mean anything. And so with that being said, what I'm going to do right now is show you guys how to document the work that you've been doing. So as a carryover, what we're going to do right now is go to where it says sheets. All right. Now it's cool that it already has sheets already associated with it. But remember, we were working on the second floor, so we're going to bring over the second floor. So we're going to click on the second floor plan, and it already has sheets already available, as you can see right here. Okay. And so now we've got a sheet that's already in here, has a lot of the information for this sheet already a part of it. All right. And so in this case, what we're going to do is that we are going to now show you guys how to create information that you're looking for. So we've been working on the second floor, and as you can see right here, you see where it has this blue filled in, and you get the whites right here. Well, the blue represents the fact for 2026 that, in this year, that with the new Revit updates, that when these are filled in, and these are on sheets. When they're not filled in, then they're not on sheets. So what we're going to do is now we're going to click on the second floor, and we're going to hold and drag into the center and drop. All right, so now you're going to see this bubble right here. And we're going to go ahead and click this. And now look, now you see you have your documentation on an actual sheet. All right. So now what I like to do is a couple things. One, let's just say I want to change this header because it's too long, right, for the view. If I just click on that, you'll see this highlight, and now this little thing right here just be as long as how you want it. All right, as you can see right here, it could be second floor. But cool thing about this, if I click on this view, as you can see right here, it defaults by whatever I call the view name. All right, as you can see right here, this is the view, right? But if I want to say something else, I can say, hey, this is, level 2. I can even say something else, level 2 floor plan. All right, and then watch this. Say no, we're just going to get right here. So now look, I can do it that way. And if I want to do a different header, you see how I get to, if I click on this portion by itself, look, see this? If I want to do one that has no title, title only. All right. So that's how you bring a title on here. Is how you bring a sheet on here. Now, what we did before is we showed we can do grids, grid outlines, doors, windows, sheets, as you can see right here. Okay. And it's super important. Now, the true power of Revit is not just generating the sheets. If I go over to where it says schedules, all right, now like different door schedules, like if all the information that we've been filling out. If I click on the door schedules, look at this, all these different doors. All right, now if I go to any one of these, see all the ones that we just created? Watch this. If I go to where it says highlighted model, true parametric, all right, look at that. That is how we want to be able to leverage Revit, okay? Most of the time, which I'm going to show you guys later on in this series, is that we actually create the schedules first. So then that way when we start modeling and information, then it automatically is coming out the way we want it. Because in this way, I call it the Pro series of showing you guys how to use Revit that I've done on billions and billions of dollars of projects. The fundamentals do not change. These are the ebbs and flows, the fundamentals that do not change. And as we're going through this process in this series, I wanted to show you how to use the tools. Now I wanted to show you what the tools are about. Now I'm showing you how to use the tools to be productive in an everyday environment so you guys can utilize this and understand the basics of how we're going to utilize this. Everything that we build, we want to make sure that we have schedules already built, because now I can go over his window schedules. Same thing. Look at that. It'll give me my window schedules and everything else like that. So in the powerful template that I have already created that I'm going to send you guys when you go ahead and click into my school link in the description is going to have a powerful starter template that we are going to cover and go over that is going to allow you guys to really, really maximize you being a part of this community and the perks and benefits, because my goal is to take my experience, give it to you so you guys can now funnel this, and now you do the exact same thing. That's what this community is going to be all about. And if I go back to my second floor plan, you may say, okay, well, cool, I got it on sheets. But then, okay, well, then how do I actually print it? Just so you guys know as well, all this information here for CI says appears on sheets, revisions in the sheets if we want to do that, name, anybody who's worked on the project. That information will fill out here, as you can see right here. If you got any of those information, it'll fill out all this. You can go ahead and click on this as well. And then here's the same thing, project number, owner, all that information is highly clickable. That's why it's blue. All right. And then if you have anybody as far as the project that's going on, now we'll go over into more further how to create your own size and templates. Like you see right here. Look, if I click on that, you see the different sizes right here. You got 11 by 17. You got this size. So you got pretty different sizes that you can do, and we can pull in other different sizes as well from a family perspective. So if I want to go ahead and, hey, we load in family, and if I want to go look at title blocks, okay, this one can do title blocks, so I just have to go. But we do have these families also part of Revit. What I'm going to do now is show you, all right, now we've got it on a sheet. What do we do now? Well, you got to be able to print it, of course. So the last but not least, you go ahead and you hit the file button, and you'll see this right here. Now this is a little confusing because you got export and then you got print. Well, you want to do print, and then you see right here it says print, create PDF, right? Or use whatever you have inside. So you go ahead and click on that. All right, and then look. Now it's going to tell you, okay, what are you looking to print? You can do it by selected. You can do it by selected sheets. If you have a sheet set, you can do it by visible portions, right? Or current window. Okay. And then it's going to say, okay, what's your export settings if you have any? And then it's going to say, okay, well, this sheet name, I think this was A2 second floor plan, right? Cool. Now you're just going to give it a name. Now you want to say, okay, look, it's going to use the sheet size. It's going to do this. What I like to do also is check this button right here. It says hide reference view tags, unreferenced view tags. So things that are not assigned, I make sure that that's hidden. All right, now I can do two things. Typically when I'm printing, most times I'm doing grayscale or I'm doing black lines, just depends. And if I have anything color, this is where you make that change. Okay, it says use sheet size, and now it's saying, okay, cool, combine selected views and sheets to a single PDF. That basically makes it a combined file. If I don't want to do that, then there you go, it'll automatically give me a type and name, right? And if I say combine selected views and sheets into a single PDF, then there we go. Okay, that's why you saw it just move that way. So just do this for this course so you guys can see, and then just tell it where you want it to go. For me, I'm just going to do it on my desktop right quick. So I'm just going to say, there we go. All right. For me personally, folder. All right. So now that that's done, cool. You're going to hit export. Don't worry about saving settings in this case. Go ahead, no. All right. So now once that is done, it's creating your PDF. All right. And now if I want to go back over to what it was, I can just pull it up, right? I did new folder, so let me just back on up, new folder, and then you should see a PDF that I just created. All right, now look at that. Now you won't see any elevation tags or anything else because I checked that box. But there's your grayscale, and that's how you create your PDF. All right, so important that you go ahead and do that. Now this project showed you the intermediate workflow, but to truly master these tools and understand the why behind every click, well, you need a rock solid foundation. Don't worry, I got you. I've compressed 20 years of basics into this complete beginner course on the screen. It's the boot camp before the battlefield. Click here and I'll see you in class.